welcome back. And then for this afternoon, not afternoon, for the second session, I thought it was lunch already. Well, we are going to look at the way forward for Hong Kong. And this morning, we looked at the UK experience, the US experience, and also the French experience. And we also talked about Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. Well, now, we turn our focus back to Hong Kong, because we know that Hong Kong is right now charting our own energy policy. Where are we going? Do we know how we will be engaged in talking about and deliberating this very important energy policy? We are not sure yet. Perhaps this will be a good exercise to start the journey. Well, in the community, of course, the government will initiate their own engagement exercise later. But here, Civic Exchange would like to, together with you all, begin this journey. So what are we going to do is that when I've been doing these engagement exercise or consultation, we always get a sense that people are complaining about how the government has been conducting its consultation or public engagement exercise. So for this session, before noontime, I hope what we can achieve are these three things. First, the top three concerns regarding public engagement initiatives or exercises, processes in Hong Kong. So you'll be given time within your group to have a small group discussion regarding the top three concerns regarding public engagement initiatives in Hong Kong. Then we go and have a look. Well, if those are the problems, what do we want to see? What do we want to see? In particular, if the government is initiating its energy policy engagement exercise, what kind of policy, public engagement that you want to see? So craft a prototype with your partners at your table. Then think about the roles of the different stakeholders, and also you as an individual, what can each stakeholders and also you as an individual can contribute or do during this process. So this is a brief overview of what we're going to spend our next 35 minutes on. And then I'll invite you to send one representative for each group to share some of your findings and discussion results. That's the report back and discussion session before we end at noon. So now you'll be given 5 minutes on your table to think about, the things that I have been complaining about the public engagement exercises in Hong Kong in general. What are the concerns? What are some of the issues that you really want to raise here? And then on your table, you have this tiny little sheets of paper. Please fill that in, and then we'll collect it after 5 minutes. So, starts now.
To come up with exactly three concerns.
Getting very excited to move to the next section, right? So the next section will be, you'll be given 15 minutes to talk about or to generate together in your group public engagement prototype, sort of like a model. Well, we heard from Daphne this morning, the content process outcome model, that could be one. She's given us some indicators for us to think about what kind of model do we want in terms of public engagement. Well, look, pay attention this time. Focus on energy policy, public engagement, not necessarily just looked at nuclear energy. So broadly speaking, energy policy, public engagement. So these are some of the ideas to help you think. If you think they are useful, use them as a guide. If you have your own components or you have your own thoughts, please feel free to categorize your information, because you'll be invited later to share these discussion results. For example, the media, the roles of experts, the roles of independent institution, time, education, knowledge, transparency, information, scrutiny, and all these things, and many other things that you may want to insert in this model. Please discuss with your neighbors in your group. 15 minutes to come up with a model. Make sure that you state clearly the goal of this model. What kind of issues that you want to address. This is the second part of the exercise. You talk about the concerns. Make sure in your prototype, do address the concerns that you just brought up. Thank you. You have 15 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may not have finished discussing or completing your prototype, but don't worry, because you will be given another 10 minutes to do this. Plus, but then, pay attention to this slide. The next task for all of us is to think about, in your prototype, the model, what different stakeholders or different sectors of the society should be doing. Don't be greedy and talk about all the sectors. You may want to just focus on one. For example, your group would like to see what educators can do in this process, or what the operators should do in this process, or NGOs, in particular the environmental NGOs, should be doing. So 10 minutes to think about this, plus that there are flip chart sheets on your paper. Please do put down your prototype key points on the sheet, and then the roles. And my colleague, Olivia, back there, will be giving you, each of you, one post-it. And I would very much hope that you can spare 1 minute towards the end of the discussion to think about individually, you yourself as an individual citizen of Hong Kong, what you can do and what you can contribute to this process, so that you are sure that your voice will be heard. Don't forget to put down the goal of the prototype on that sheet of paper as well. So, another 10 minutes for all of you. Time starts now. Before I invite the group representative to come and share your discussion results, I'd like to use 1 minute to share with you one thing. You remember you handed in the top 3 concerns? We have tabulated the data. And then here it is. People at the back, the participants at the back, maybe it's a little bit difficult for people at the back to see, but all I can say is that the top concern, the whole group, hidden agenda, credibility of the facilitation, the process, the minority of hijacking the whole issue, and the competency of the people conducting the public engagement initiative. That's the top concern, meaning a lot of groups have raised these issues. That's top concern number 1, big chunk. Top concern number 2, again, big group, transparency. That's number 2. Third, top 3 concern, the third one, access to the authority, openness, and the scope. So these are the top 3 concerns for this big group. So now I'm going to invite each group sending one representative to share their prototype, the roles, and see if the prototype or your prototypes will address all or some of the issues brought up here. And then I'd like to invite group 10 first instead of group 1.
Oops. Okay, for our group discussion, actually we set a clear objective that, we would like to create a platform for discussion in order to form a basis for consensus, but not really reaching a consensus within the public. We believe that public engagement is not the best way to achieve a consensus. We just want to provide something for our policymaker to know how we feel and what we believe in. Therefore, forget about this prototype. Yeah, this one. Therefore, we believe prototype 2, so-called 2, anyway, this is just the name. We firstly should allow the public to voice out their own wants and objectives for certain policy. For example, in this case is energy policy, what they want to achieve in this policy. And then let the experts or the NGOs or the business to give us some feedback, saying that, no, it's not feasible, it's not possible, you are too idealistic, back to the public. This kind of communication will be done through the media or formal public engagement platform, which organized by the government. So what should the government do? Just provide basic fact throughout the whole process, saying that how much energy we are importing from Guangdong, and what are the costs for different sources of energy, this kind of basic fact. And then, as this kind of public engagement won't reach out a consensus, so all this opinion, all this option and communication process will pass through to the policymaker, to the government or to some political party to take side. What are they going to take? What are they going to be responsible for their future final policy making? Basically, I have already covered most of the responsibility of different stakeholders, like the government and the so-called educator, which we believe is expertise or some academics, saying that provide knowledge and provide feedback. What are the trade-off if the public want this? They have the certain role of giving feedback to the public. And lastly, business, NGO, individuals, we believe they are the same. They voice out their own concerns and the major objective from the very beginning. So this is our model, quite different from the current policy-making process, which is the government give out a proposal and seek for the public approval. So that's our group discussion. That's the result of our group discussion.
Thank you. So we need to tell the government what people want and then get the experts to feedback and then to try to feed to the decision makers. Okay, next group number 9. The apprentice colleague.
Okay, I'm Argo from Greenpeace as well. And our group is, the goals is to not that much, is to enhance the public involvement. And we're just concerned of, we have 3 points. One is the information. We are concerned of have sufficient information about all the costs of the nuclear and the choice for the people to choose their electricity tariff or markets. And also the transparency. As we know, all the nuclear power is from mainland China, and how much we know about the safety and the cost of this decommissioning the nuclear power plants is included in the tariff. And how about we consider all the full cost of nuclear electricity? And the second point is how we can raise the public concern about the issue or their attention, because in the previous the government during the public engagement they pay a lot to have advertisement in TV show or but the way is too plain or too mild, so the people didn't alert or get it can't get the people attention to the issue. And the third point is we want more than one option, because in the past consultation, the government may only show one option for the consultation purpose, but we want to have more than one option, and we can compare it, the cost and benefit, and anything about two options. So about the prototype, we choose our group just choose one the NGO and what we can do. And the first is to show the overseas example and experience, such we discussed earlier this morning. We have placed more information or experience of other countries such as France and Germany. And second is to promote the demand side management, such as improve the energy efficiency or promoting the saving energy work in Hong Kong. And the third point is we can illustrate a bigger scope and illustrate the alternative to think broader, not only the supply and demand issue. We can think of all the society, the electricity market, and also the way to reduce carbon emissions, such as impose carbon tax, or we can think of energy saving, all the whole as a package of how Hong Kong or the society to solve or to combat the climate change issue in the world. This is our group discussion.
Thank you. So this group, one of the common things that goes through was information, sufficient information, knowledge, and then but this group added some more in terms of transparency and also how to raise public awareness and also more options, please, right? More options, please, instead of just one. And then we need to look broader, not just Hong Kong, but also overseas experience. But this broader sense also include not just looking at energy issues, but also market, energy, electricity market, also climate change, broader issues. So yes, so you're ready. Please.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here. So we were talking about this, and we came up with a simple goal. We want to make it short and simple so that the public understands, everybody can get it first time through, and it sticks in their head. And we came up with the idea that we should be greener and also try to build a sense of responsibility when using energy. Simple as that. And the main thing we want to stress is education, because you want to get people involved, you want to get people talking, but if they don't have any education, what's the point? I mean, if people are giving out answers that don't make any sense, it doesn't help at all. So education is the key. First of all, we want to try to get something started in the schools so that the students aren't going to be in a environment where they're going to be throwing stuff in the trash. They're going to have the air conditioning on at 16 degrees. We want to start that in the schools. Push for less consumption. We want to also have a real tangible way for people to see how much energy actually costs. For example, right now, we have the air conditioning on, we have all these lights, projector. How much coal do we have to burn an hour for this in here right now. If we actually could measure that, put it out there, I think they would make a big difference. So that goes into the education. And if we start the schools, that'll take a long time. So it's going to be more of a long-term process. But if we have the simple way to actually show you use this much energy instead of kilowatt hours, let's say kilos of coal, then I think it would be a much more short-term impact on reducing energy consumption. After that, we were talking a lot about the government. And one of the policies we'd like to try to push is for Hong Kong exceptionalism. People here take pride that we're the best. So we need to tap that. Okay, we're going to be the greenest. We're going to be the cleanest. And I think a lot of people here would actually love to prove that. So we haven't figured out exactly how to measure that because most of our power is actually, well, some of it is produced in mainland China and other things. But we should have a tangible number there about how we're going to be the greenest and be able to clearly measure it and have transparent information. The power company, we felt that that's going to be a big thing. All of us, we know that when we have our residential power bill, it's a graduated price structure. The more you use, the more you pay. But the business sector isn't exactly like that. So we think that you should have that in the business sector as well, to have the graduated price structure. The media is going to play a key role in this to monitor the government progress and report it. As far as the business sector, if we had a clear limit on, say, air conditioning, set it that it should be between 24, 26, or even just have a minimum, such as, let's say, 22. It cannot be below 22. That would do a lot of progress. And finally, going into the NGOs, we felt that they could perhaps offer free consultations for how people could make their homes or businesses more efficient, how they could change lights, how they could change the windows, whatever the case may be, for long-term savings. And then also, we felt that people here are almost kept inside. They never go and experience nature. So a key thing would be to actually experience it, so people would begin to love nature, begin to love the outdoors. And that would do a lot. People would feel more responsible, which goes to our original point about making people feel greener and a sense of responsibility when utilizing energy. Thanks.
Thank you. So this group highlights the importance of energy education. So next group, Philo. Group 7, right?
Hi. Our group had 2 slides here, but and this is a lot of words, and my handwriting is really horrible, so please bear with me. One of the things that we talked about in our group is that if we immediately frame the discussion as purely on nuclear energy and the pros and cons, we probably will be missing the point. Because what we felt was that if we talk about the goals, we had the first point is that what is the goal we want to achieve, which is that we identified as energy security, sustainability, and resilience. And I won't go into the specific details except to say that when we talk about nuclear energy, it has to be in the context of energy policy for Hong Kong. And the rigor associated with, the point about is nuclear on energy and where is the nuclear energy in the overall supply mix? Because as you know, in Hong Kong, you have the supply side and the demand side, and you have the traditionals, you have the alternatives, and nuclear. And of course, there are percentages that is tied up for this for globally, currently and also going forward. And there are also goals towards that. What is the goal towards that part? And we feel that that's one thing that is sort of lacking in this discussion. So if we're going to discuss about nuclear, it has to be in the overall context of where energy security, resiliency, and sustainability is. And the second word that we also noticed is that sustainability, one of the participants mentioned that where do we embed environmental sustainability within the mix as we discuss this? Because the supply side, there are dynamics around that. Some of them are longer term, some of them are shorter term. And the demand side, you have commercial, retail, what have you. and the risks associated with each of the supply. You have operational, natural risk, disaster prone, what have you. You also have the political risk. When you build something, suddenly the political winds have shifted, things get halted. What happened? It impacts on security. Over this, we basically said that consultation process, we actually liked the Professor Daphne's methodology, keeping it simple. You have the content, process, and outcomes, in the sense that from a content perspective, what is the right content? How do you disseminate it? And I think the media has a role in that. And content from a policy. What is a policy clarity? What is a policy stability? If policy keeps on changing, then you can't really do things consistently. It gives the wrong and unpredictable signal for businesses. Process, 3 themes came up. Number 1 is inclusiveness, ability to draw opinion from different people. We also talked about transparency of process, transparency of methodology. And the last one is a mix of ability to get experts, subject experts to weigh in, as well as general public as well. The third one is outcome goals and shared values. Sometimes outcome goals are clearer, but shared values, some people are just naturally angry and naturally opposed towards certain types of energy supply, what have you. And it's just understanding and articulating what those are is actually quite important. And outcome goals, if we just keep on talking and not measuring, we're missing the point there. How do you measure impact for different type of supply? And assessment, how do you make it understandable, talking about the point of education? How do you make it translate into layman's term for the general public, as well as still having a proper discourse and meaningful discourse among experts in their respective areas? So those are the 3 things. We also talked about, in terms of the framing, energy intensity, and also renewables. What are the goals? I think that is too specific for this point. The second one is... Okay. We talked about the roles of the different players. You have NGOs, universities, businesses, and it's too many to mention here, except that some stakeholders, such as the government, have multiple roles. They are enablers, they are facilitators, they're conveners, they're also funders as well. So they also are the deciders of the rules of the game. Intermediaries such as Civic Exchange, they serve as cross-sector facilitators and conveners as well, which is independent in terms of how the views are presented. You have businesses which can fund, but they can only fund if they have a clarity of rules of the games as it relates to what they want to invest in or support. NGOs, advocacy, as well as serving as a watchdog or raising underserved or issues that may be overlooked because everyone's talking about the big things. And media is actually interesting. How does media, by its presentation or not presenting, frame the issues? How do they come up with a balanced reporting? How do they raise awareness, and how do they educate ordinary citizen as well as the subject experts as well? These are the few things. We place here A and B. A is basically you have the cross-cutting issues, is having a discourse through general public consultations as well as workshop sessions such as these. These enables us to identify common themes and common issues. So that's point A. And then when we talk about the goals, which we alluded to earlier, which is the energy sustainability, energy security, where do we want to be? And eventually, at some point, we need to come up with specific recommendations. How do we get there? Via engagement, via speaking across different stakeholders, inviting subject experts from other countries to share their experiences, both successes as well as what didn't work and what worked. And this part, the wall, we want to go from point A to point B. Sometimes the wall is very thick. It's hard to break it. So that's why the identification of obstacles and the challenges and finding ways by which we can overcome, either we break the wall or we go around the wall. And sometimes this wall could be political, could be structural, could be more in terms of specific technology or what have you. So these are the things that we discuss in our group. Thank you.
Thank you. You've given us quite a lot of thoughts. And then I think what I can tell all of you is that we are going to tabulate or compile report on this event. So we will let you know, we'll email you again so that this won't go into a black hole. Definitely, it will be a document, and then we are planning and we are considering to send it to the government afterwards. So next group.
I'm sure I can finish with 3 minutes. I'm an engineer, but I retire. As the group's presentation, we just cut short, look into prototype one. We look at more broad-term framework. We need to, because the authority set the initiate the public consultation engagement, they have to be very clear about the topic, about the issues for public engagement. This is done by other authorities. The second thing is that we need to set up, we feel we need a very withstanding, credible, independent, if possible, practical will be statutory body, a party or a panel to conduct, now very important to conduct this public engagement and set the agenda. It's the party, independent body to set the agenda, not the government, not the authorities. Now, this formation of this, what we call the panel or committee, could be chaired by judge. The composition should be of members from the public, from the experts, from the NGOs, from the education, a wide range of representations. And the engagement process, we're talking about that, should be similar to commissioning a commission of inquiries. Okay, it's open, transparent, and the officials to make submission, to make any responses, must be under oath. So they cannot lie, they cannot avoid, they have to tell the truth. So whatever people ask, they have to answer. They can't say that, no, I'm now subject to certain, criminal investigation, there are no answers. That's not the case. Most important, deliverables. Deliverable by this panel or this committee. Is it law binding? Must be binding. If the government don't like it, they must respond. Written responses with good reasons for that. So we look at the whole framework, the prototype, we'll go into nitty-gritties. So for your thought. Now, within 3 minutes, we just only cover educators. I'm retired, but I'm not with CTU. So I said, also, Robert with me, so I said, educators should be knowledge providers. We should share our knowledge without any, not for any return. We must give independent opinions. We have to facilitate all the forums, technical forums, something like that. And we should act as expert witness. And we have to be more proactive. And we have to make public awareness, take more initiatives. That's educator. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very specific what educators can do, and I hope that you do write down on that post-it that you will do something. I'm going to have a look at your pledge later on. Yes, group 5, please. Jason.
Hello, I'm Jason of group 5. Regarding our prototype, actually it's quite similar to the group before. We wish to have an open, balanced, and transparent process throughout the entire consultation. And we expect the process to be independent and impartial, particularly in regarding the role of the government. Okay, but we'd like to highlight a few things. First, we expect sufficient time. We don't want the process to be in big rush, and we believe we cannot have public consensus in big rush. So we expect for the strategic energy policy, we expect the government to use at least 2 years in the process. And we also want meaningful feedback. Otherwise, if the 2-year consultation, if the result go to black hole, then that it would be just a waste of resources. So we suggest a 2-stage consultation. The first stage would be to set the setting up our agenda. We want the agenda to be determined by the wider public rather than by a few government departments or even independent institutions. And for the second stage, we will focus on how, that is the strategy itself or the options we will go by. So specifically, we would like to discuss about the role of the government. First, it is a resources provider. Of course, we need the government to provide the website or the venue of discussion, and also we need the government to get funding from the Legislative Council. But there is one thing that only the government can do that the wider general public cannot do. That is, you can see the Chinese word 外交, that is the internal diplomacy. It is because for issue like energy, it must be a cross-border issue, and it will be increasingly so in the future. So now we invite the government to consider whether with issue like a nuclear energy, hydropower, they can invite mainland authorities or the mainland companies to be involved in giving us the information or even join us in the discussion process. Okay, but at the same time, we are not only demanding for our rights, we also realize Hong Kong collectively also has responsibility within the nation. So we wish our government to do the neighbor care and concern work, particularly that we actually by outsourcing our energy generation to mainland China, especially Guangdong, we are also exporting our externalities. So when we are exporting our pollution, I think it is also important for us to express our concern, especially for the labor near the power plant that are giving us energy. And so we also expect the communication to be on a regular basis. So that's why the government should also develop appropriate institution. And we hope that for cross-border communication, and ideally, the institution should be ready before the consultation process. Okay, we briefly discussed also about the role of educators. In fact, it's very hard to determine whether it should be incorporated into the syllabus of liberal studies or some other subject, especially for the secondary student. But the most important thing, the government to set the right tone, be honest to the students at the outset that energy issue is something that every country in the world differ in their outcome, and it is a community decision that is yet to be made. So this is our group's outcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So for this group, we need an open, balanced, independent public engagement process, and then they've highlighted a two-stage approach. Well, set the agenda first, and then before we talk about the strategy. And then this group, they've got one new element, that's the internal diplomacy that the government will have to sort out. And then group 4, Alexis.
Okay. I think by the time we were asked, the whole thing finished, our paper is totally blank. So the big word is no consensus. And we basically just get on the public engagement part, no discussion about role, because everyone is very active. The first thing we want to talk about is really, in terms of public engagement, it has to get an objective why you want this public engagement, because previously a lot of public engagement we have seen is really for information only. Unfortunately, we want to know whether the public engagement is for decision making or decision making input. That's very different, because a lot of time it sounds like decision making, but it's really input. And also we think that it's very important to spell out the pros and cons very explicitly. Even on the decision that you think you're going to make, you need to explicitly say what are the downside of those things in terms of economic, environmental, social, and political terms, not just environmental or economic, even political or social terms. You need to spell it out. And then it's good for government to have options, but not preference. Once the public see your preference, then you're inviting for attack. So that's on the beginning. In terms of the models, actually, one of the models we propose is very similar to Group 6. But we actually go a step further, because we are proposed, not we, I shouldn't, because it's no consensus. One of the crazy guys are proposing this jury system. You have a jury, basically randomly sampled from the population, big enough, and they are going to make the decision, but you need the deliberation process. You need the expert, and basically just like the jury, what we have now, each side can throw in whatever argument they have, and then at the end, because that is an education process for the public. To educate the entire public takes too long. Get a big enough group, try educate, and then let them decide. But that actually goes back, what is the purpose of your engagement? If it is just for information, then it's no point. The other thing is, okay, whenever you make this public engagement, there will be comments. If any comments that you decide to adopt or not adopt, there should be an explanation by the government, really. Otherwise, people don't feel engaged. If they just send in and nothing. So there's this feedback process is very important. And I think a field group already talked about one engagement is not enough. We need multiple stages of engagement, because otherwise, again, sincerity, whether you really want people's input or just for information only. If we have too many for information only consultation, trust doesn't exist. And then a lot of this, we need more help from the professional communication community. Hong Kong is very good in terms of doing advertisement, but the government needs to learn more from the professional communicators. I think that's what we have.
Thank you. For this group, no consensus, but individual views, we also value a lot. So this group number 3.
Hi, my name is Gerhard. We're group 3. Our discussion really focused around the importance of framing the topic, similar to another one. And we really focused on where everybody plays a role in the engagement process. So on the government side, we have vision. They set the vision. They have to listen to the public and conduct referendum. They manage the process, which includes the time frame over which the topic is going to be discussed. We had in here public liaison department, which really is an independent body that engages the public. We took it out of government, and it should really be in others, where this independent body is actually very, very important, with the likes of ICAC or an ombudsman thing, which is it's independent. On the business side, we feel that businesses are there to make money, so they will be the solution provider, and they will also frame the problem in order that they can provide the solution. They need to be engaged in the process because they will be funding it. They have an interest to profit from it. NGOs are the scorekeepers. They will look at the pros and cons of what's been discussed, what has been presented. We had a big argument on whether they can find a compromise. We didn't receive, I don't think we reached a conclusion on that one. Education is important for the dissemination of information and knowledge, to also get feedback, and also to open discussion forums so that the topic can be adequately covered, and it goes on and on. Others, we need a methodology on the public forum as to how we're going to get to the end goal. A roadmap, which is, again, the role of the public liaison and independent department. For individuals, we discuss how we can engage by attending meetings such as this, writing letters to the editor in newspapers. And the role of the media is really not to look at any of these, the government, business, NGOs individually, but as a whole. They really have to start reporting on the entirety of what the topic is, rather than just specific viewpoints of any one department. So that's our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerhard. Group number 2, please.
Okay, guys, trying to work out what hasn't been mentioned so we can keep this short. I think in our discussion, these were the blue parts are what we were started off from, and then from that we spread out our ideas. One of the concerns we had was how wide are we going in the actual energy discussion? If we're talking about energy mix, or actually the scheme of control, do we want to stay with the duopoly, or are we opening up to outsiders? So again, where is that starting point for the discussion, or how many restrictions, what are our overall constraints that we're already being forced into when we have a topic given to us? And having those clearly stated by government so we know what solutions they're not even going to consider. But one of our biggest ones that we'd love to have in this, if we're talking about power mix, and that is how can we actually mix our producers of power from the first point, and can they come from more different areas? And the question is, if we have a grid that's already connected, why can't we buy our power across the different companies already in the region? And would the community support, you know, giving a break to those poor people on Hong Kong Island for paying those higher prices by subsidising those on other parts? These type of discussions in the mix, when they start thinking about where do you actually want to have your discussion at the town hall. We thought the part about the town hall type meetings need to go from the small 3 group meetings, you know, the very much the government and the power producers at the moment, right back out in different interest groups, right to the full scale discussions. They're a good format, but we're concerned about the information use when we come out of that process. So I've heard the words feedback loop. Otherwise, we basically then have a question on the culture within the government when they're setting up that policy or discussion to start with. Is there motivation for change? And both government and individuals, do we have willingness to have a broader discussion on the topic of will we allow ourselves, through accountability side of things, to maybe approach that cultural hierarchy that you might have within the government or within an organisation even, and it could be government or business. Will a middle idea, a middle management or a junior staff be able to put an idea on the table comfortably? That's about it, because what we decided in amongst our butterfly papers is that basically we'll participate via speaking out, getting more information shared with our colleagues, and participating in discussions, I think was the summary of the 6 team members. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. So need to know where to start, right? Yes. So last group, group 1.
By the way, our group, I think, is perhaps the, except me, our group is perhaps the youngest and perhaps very intelligent participants, right? Okay, so we start off with the goals, okay? Well, actually, we have much commonality with the other groups, so I hope I can also focus more on the differences. We aim at, I mean, out of the engagement process, we hope to aim at transparency. Personally, I look at the word scrutiny with big interest. We basically want to achieve information disclosure. I mean, this sort of thing, because it is so scientific and so difficult to understand. I think we need to have a better information disclosure in the layman terms. Whoever conducting this sort of engagement exercise needs to gain trust for the participants and also for the general public. And one of the goals that perhaps is different from other groups is that we hope to have a roadmap for action and follow-through activities after the engagement exercise. I mean, it's just not talk and talk without any follow-through actions. So let's look at our prototype, which was drawn up. Perhaps it's quite colorful, isn't it? Anyway, I have already mentioned the goals, and we have 3 components in this prototype. Firstly, we talk about people, right? The parties involved. We think there needs to be a sort of champions in this exercise. I mean, some sort of leaders. I mean, for leading the discussion, and we have not got enough time to discuss about who the champions would be, whether it's government or whether it's independent party. We talk about the role of experts in this, because we do think that as far as Hong Kong is concerned, in all these power generation business, especially when we talk about nuclear business, I think Hong Kong will have the necessary expertise and connectivity to the outside world, such that our opinions can be fed back to the mainland authorities. So expertise is here to provide the contribution. And of course, general public needs to be informed and they can also participate. Media needs to be there as a watchdog, and educators, as have been already mentioned. Okay, so these are the parties. As for the essentials to achieve these goals, we need to have objectivity, and this has much to do with the current situation of the media, which somehow seem to be biased in one way or the other. We need to build up trust, and one member quite succinctly point out that we have to do it from small steps. I mean, trust is not built up in one day. I mean, we have to allow the government to build up trust on them gradually. And that needs time, of course. And that may exceed the term of one government. We talk about representation, meaning that whoever taking part in this engagement exercise, what sort of representation they are offering. This is important. I mean, basically, we talk about whether it should be at the district board level and what else, how to make the people who sit there to be representative. Basically, it's a sort of democratic process. And timeliness was also mentioned as to the engagement exercise. I mean, we got timeliness as one of the important essentials. I mean, not to discuss after the decisions are made. As for the activities, we think that workshops which may disseminate information as a means of education, as a platform for discussion, and also for education. Workshop like this would be beneficial. And more officially, we may like to have hearings, such as in the US, whereby evidence are put forward in a very open manner, and they are scrutinized with a sort of expertise as far, to reach the sort of legal standard. Okay, we have not got time to discuss fully the methods of holding these activities, but we do believe that some sort of innovations would be necessary to promote engagement. So with these three components in the prototype, perhaps we think that the government should act as a facilitator. Okay, there will doubt as to whether the government would be in a good position to lead the discussion, because the government might have a biased views. Okay, and in order to gain trust, they might better act as a facilitator, just like what Civic Exchange is doing today. Okay, and perhaps some NGO may also like what Civic Exchange is doing to do the facilitation. So that completes our model, right? That's what our group have come up with. Any supplements from the group members? Right. So that's it.
Thank you, Group 1. Well, let me just repeat. All these wisdom, all these gems will be collected and compiled in a report. Well, what I've been hearing is that a lot of the groups have brought up we need to know the goal, what this public initiative or public engagement initiative is all about. What's the starting point? And then during the process, we need information. We want transparency. We need to make sure that people involved are educated, or they at least have knowledge. But how are we going to do this? Every one of us, different sectors, educators, media, also have a role to play. And then during the process, we need to be open, again, transparent, balanced. One last thing, what I got from the groups. We don't want to see no feedback after these engagement exercises. After sharing all the views and then the content, we want to see follow-up actions. What the government or what some other sectors or individuals will do. And I hope that this, again, back to the opening of this session, this is just the beginning, hopefully, to start talking about how we are going to talk about energy policy in Hong Kong. So I hope that in November, we are going to have another session concerning this kind of policy. How are we going to discuss, or even maybe talk about the content next time? So I hope that all of you will come back and join us. And then next time we'll have a much larger room. We'll cater for more people and hope that we'll be able to have another engaging and interactive session to talk about the way we talk about energy issues and perhaps to talk about the content of energy policy in Hong Kong. So thank you so much for... Yeah, of course. Yeah. So thank you so much for your participation. But before we close, I'd like to see if our panelists this morning will have any things to share after listening to our group's presentation. Well, Peter, first want to grab the mic.
I hope everybody believe in prenatal education. Since we are two charming ladies or expecting new baby, the two new baby will be our honorable chairman of the forum, I hope, and be the world's formal expert on energy. Now, to respect privacy, I did not mention who are the two charming ladies who are expecting babies, okay?
I just want to share one or two further thoughts on that. One is that I do feel that public engagement is very important for energy decisions. Not only because for the better outcome of the energy decision, it's the process. It's the way how we nurture a share sense of ownership and responsibility as a whole wider society. We used to rely on the government and or the power companies in Hong Kong to make big energy decisions for us. But I feel that the sentiment in society has changed. The wider society, we do want to take a bigger role in that. And this is important, but this also plays new challenges to the government, because now the government is required to be much more responsive. And then I feel that the government has yet to be to get ready for such changes that are now placed on them. And then, but now I really like the point that the group just made. We need innovation for public engagement activities. How we are going to design better way for Hong Kong? We need innovative ideas. Okay. I think just now, like Alexis and Professor Chow mentioned, there are other ways that we can do, like jury system or kind of legal binding system. Informed decision made by the overall wider public is important ways for us to think about. Okay, thank you.
First, I am very impressed by the commitment, the engagement, and the production. I am not sure that such an innovative way of working together would have been possible in France, but I will bring back the experience, and perhaps we will try to see if it works. A lot have been said. I agree largely concerning, for example, the fact that we should look at the whole nuclear, the energy mix, and not only nuclear. We should look at the demand side and not only the supply side. If I may pick one point, perhaps, I heard once only the word parliament. I heard several times the word government. In France, the ASN, the Nuclear Safety Authority, is said to be independent, and I think it is. For several reasons. One of the reasons being it reports to Parliament, not to government. So I think this, I would like to close on this, just to conclude and say that deeply this is a society question, an organization question, and governance question, and government, NGO, utilities, okay, but in between there is also an intermediate level, which is I don't know the specificities in Hong Kong, but I have heard the word parliament.
If I may supplement my honorable colleagues' remarks, you know, other than the new babies, which is a happy event, I do think both Professor Ma and Dr. Didier's comments are well placed. I have seen more than my share of public engagement process that did not work. So Professor Ma's call for innovation and Dr. Didier's comments on parliamentary involvement are exceptionally meritorious. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and then give them a big hand, and then thank you so much again for your participation. I look forward to seeing you next time in November. Thank you. The little notes, please, the little notes before you go, please stake on this board public engagement prototype. Find the appropriate place to stake your sticky notes, your pledge before you go.